really are the experts, as you're doing it every week. You have a lot of experience in this now. What are we, 2.5 months into this? And I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other just through sharing our experiences in kind of a group setting like this. There's a lot of knowledge that you now have that we can learn from each other. Part of today and what was going on with our slideshow there is we'll also just briefly talk about a new grant process that would allow you to access funds through the diocese to upgrade your equipment or your software or your services for the purpose of online ministry. With that, I'm going to send it over to our co-host, Michael Reed, and he has a few words to say for you.
And thanks, Mark, and very few words actually, because one of the reasons why we thought this might be a helpful occasion for us is to learn best practices that all sorts of different people are using across the diocese, and to share ideas, programs, things that are working, things that you found frustrating, and in a way to support one another, develop better online worship and other events. And looking toward doing that, because having followed up with the bishop's letter yesterday and from our Archbishop of the province, we know that this is going to be an ongoing reality for us for quite some time yet. So it seemed like a good juncture for us to have a chance to share ideas and encourage one another in this strange new land we find ourselves in virtual church. And I don't know how many of you had experience before the March break, but everything that I've learned has happened in the last 2 months, and because we had nothing ready to go at the time of the shutdown after the pandemic began. And so it's been a very steep learning curve to figure out what works, what doesn't work, and what might be necessary and needful to at least do a reasonable job of doing virtual church. A couple of things that we've discovered here is there's a lot of material, particular apps and programs that are available that are free, that are quite good. One of the ones that we've discovered is something called OBS, which is Open Broadcasting System, and it's a fantastic little software encoder to help you broadcast to things like YouTube, and it's just available for anybody who would like to download. Other things don't come free, but are also quite good. But our experience in our part of the world since this all began is one of your major components that's a cost component is the equipment you need to be able to do it. And if you're doing ongoing ministry online, investing in some equipment really can help that process and help the quality of your production, so that you are sharing the best you can to the people you love and care about in your parish. So that's all I'm going to say is as an introduction, and this was meant to be more of a forum of discussion and learning from each other. And what I've discovered is, and Mark mentioned this earlier today, is I learned most out of the disasters that happen at 10 to 10 on Sunday morning, and suddenly nothing is working, which is this past Sunday morning. And realizing that all the things I'd set up the day before had completely unraveled themselves. And so I don't get into panic mode quite as much anymore, but it was a challenging 5 or 6 minutes at the beginning of worship on Sunday to try to fix all of that in a relatively short period of time. So I was really saying my prayers and seeking the guidance of the Holy Spirit on Sunday to help me with that and to sort that all out. So I'm looking forward to hearing from folks and sharing ideas and learning from each other as we move forward and continue in this really important ministry that we're involved in today, but in the months ahead as well. So welcome to everybody, and it's great to have you here, and we'll look forward to hearing from each other. So I'm going to turn it back to Mark to begin the conversation.
Just a keeping note, we're just getting some background noise. I'm not sure where it's coming from, so just if folks aren't speaking, just to kind of mute yourself to see if that solves that audio problem. Okay, I don't hear it now, so it seems to have gone away. Okay, good. So I think I just wanted to throw it out there. I know some folks, from what I've observed, I've tried to sort of keep pace with what parishes are doing around the diocese in terms of how they're doing their online services. I know that some folks are streaming live, whether that be through Facebook Live or however it is they're doing it. And then, of course, some folks, I think, are doing like a pre-recorded service that then they're posting, say, to YouTube or Facebook after on. That's what I do each week with the bishops. The two bishop services that I end up producing is a litany service for Friday, and then his Sunday morning service. We always record those ahead of time. In fact, he's coming over here later on this afternoon to do it. And then I edit those, put those together, and then post them online for the applicable time that they need to come live. So that's one method of doing it. It's actually a lot more work than if we were just doing it live off a phone or off my phone or something like that. So I'm curious just to know who is doing it live, and then maybe who's doing like pre-recorded ones. What makes folks choose one over the other, and what's your experiences with that?
Mark, here at St. Thomas's, we've been pre-recording. We started live streaming over a gaming platform, but we just found that the gaming platform, that's because my technician is a 20-year-old. And that's the platform he knows. There's one reason to keep a son around the house. But we just found we didn't have really a strong enough Wi-Fi at the church, so we ended up pre-recording, which has worked out much better. Than we upload it to Facebook, our webpage, YouTube, and another church's webpage, St. Luke's Kingston. What I'd like to find is a good editing program, because at this point it's sort of I get Daniel sort of looking at me, gives me 1, 2, 3, go, and we just start. He throws in pictures for the readings off of his phone, but that's about all we're really doing. It'd be nice to be able to edit and maybe take out some clunky parts or whatever.
I didn't even know you could go through a gaming platform, Bill. That's a new one for me.
If you mean me, no. If you mean the gaming platform, I'm told that Matthew Peaver found it really exciting that he didn't know I was so hip.
When Matthew heard that you were going over Twitch, he was pretty impressed.
My son traded his gaming platform for a drum set, so I can, I can't even try that out now. House anymore.
I couldn't even remember the name.
If it's helpful, Mark, if it's helpful, we found a great editing program that's really simple to use. I have Microsoft Office, and it comes with a video editor feature. And it's pretty simple. You just, we've been doing the taping thing with our services here in Bancroft. I used my trusty iPhone. The one thing I did with the iPhone, I found a piece of software that allowed you to stop and start, or pause and resume, which is pretty effective. We learned that you can't tape an entire 30-minute service always on it, so data was a bit of an issue. But so now we stop and restart. But with the editor, it's no problem. I just download all the video clips, and you lay them out in a storyboard. You can cut pieces in and out if you want. It's not very sophisticated, but it's great. It's a great program. And yeah, my technical guy is my 8-year-old grandson, so I can I can totally relate. And we bring 4 people to the church. So our rector, of course, myself, the videographer, and we have 2 people, one to read read a lesson and do the psalm, and the other one does the intercessions and the Lord's Prayer. So people are seeing other members of the congregation participating. They seem to really enjoy that. And our only other issue is internet up here is terrible. For a lot of people, they can't watch the service or they don't have the right technology. I have a Facebook YouTube channel, and we just put the videos up on the YouTube channel, and the rector sends everyone a note. But she's doing paper services as well for people that aren't able to watch video. So if that's helpful, that's and I can give you my coordinates if you want to reach out on the video editor. It's really a terrific program. So if that's helpful.
So Russ, is that Windows Movie Maker that you're using? Because I know that comes with.
No. Yeah, it's called Video Editor. I'm just going to see if I can get it up and give you any better. Yeah, it comes in my photos and so on.
Because I know Windows 10 comes with sort of basic video editor, and I had been kind of messing around myself just to kind of get a handle on it. I know that I haven't used it. I think Blair, you told me you were using was iMovie for the Mac folks out there.
Yes, that's right.
Which
It's really
and I suspect the Windows version isn't as good.
I've used both, but it's not quite as good, but it's not bad either.
But at least it gets you started on trying to manage that, because I googled video editors, right? Like, I mean, there's free video editors out there. I mean, aside from sort of the Windows one and then iMovie.
Music is asking to play a genre, an artist, or a song. If your Chromecast TV is linked in the Google Home app, you can say, play yoga videos on regular TV.
Sorry, my Google Help decided to start talking.
Can you just mute yourself just for a second, Russ? Just whoever's not.
Will do.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at, you Google sort of free video editing software or stuff you got to pay for. And there's a lot of choices out there, so it can become a bit of a wild west to figure out, okay, which one do I go with, or how do I get started? But I think, and it's a kind of software where it's not necessarily intuitive how to use the stuff either. I mean, I use Adobe Premiere Pro. It's a professional editing software, and it's taken me years to get to the point where I am with it, to understand how it really works and how you manage it. And they all kind of work on a bit of the same principle, and I think it's a matter of starting with something that's fairly beginner friendly to kind of get you figuring out how it works. It's kind of like any, in the old days, any Word or editing platform for, what did they call it? They used to call it, I remember there used to be WordPerfect and all these different typing programs, and they all operated on the same principle generally in terms of the tools and how these things were laid out. But each manufacturer or software developer had kind of a slightly different take on how they laid it out, but they operated under the same principle.
Mark, maybe I could just mention to people that if you're not familiar with GoToMeeting, there is a chat area in GoToMeeting, and you'll see at the top right-hand side of your screen, there's a little circle that looks like a cartoon commentary area. And if that lights up with numbers, and numbers of people are actually sharing great ideas in what they're doing on the chat side too. So try to follow along with that, because it is providing some other information from a number of folks and what they're doing in their particular circumstances. So thank you to those of you who are doing that as well. And I've been reading very interesting comments as we've gone along. So just to watch for that.
Mark, I have a program called a video editing program that I can show you. I think this is a program called MOVAVI, and it allows you to move the items, the individual items around on the within the program, and you can shift it around and copy it to a different spot and repeat it or whatever, and then you export it to an MP4, and that goes up on YouTube. This is about $50, but it gives you lots of control in terms of the audio and video, and you can do all kinds of things that I haven't experimented too much with, but at least it gives us a way to look after the recording and then play around with it later.
And Don, you say that's called
MOVAVI.
Okay.
And it didn't take me very long to figure out how to do it.
Okay.
It's fairly similar to the Mac program that comes with, what did you say it's called?
iMovie.
Editing program that's part of the Mac system.
Right. Yeah, Kalina mentions that iMovie is very friendly and intuitive.
iMovie, yeah.
Figure it out. Yeah, I've heard other people say that too.
My son uses iMovie, and we collaborated on a couple of things, and I learned how to change things around a bit. One of the things that is really useful is you can change the scale, so that if you're trying to cut something really tiny and fine lines, you can increase the scale so that you get exactly the right spot. And if anybody wants some help with any of that, I'd be happy to one-on-one later on.
Okay, that's good. Brad, you're using Adobe Creative Suite, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've been using. The Dean himself has actually been doing a lot of the editing for the subsequent Even songs, and he's been using iMovie. So it's a blend of the two. I just happen to have it through my employer. But it's very good. To learn how to use it, the learning curve is significant, I think.
It is, yeah. That's, as I say, I've been using it for years, and it's first time I opened it, I thought, what the heck is this?
What I've been having to use, I've been using Adobe Audition more, so I pre-process the audio files and then send them to the Dean, and then he combines them with the video files and do them there, because I was using some special mic equipment and it needed post-processing, to some filters applied to it to get the best sound out of it. So that's how we've been, there's a kind of dual prong workflow here, which might not be the most efficient, but it's kind of working for us.
Okay,
Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jerry Moore. What was the program that, what program was Don speaking about? I have very poor internet here on the island, so I'm only getting parts and pieces of what's being said.
Okay, so Don was referencing a software called MOV AVI.
AVI. Okay, thank you.
Which actually is, you know, the file extensions for two different types of video files.
I just put a link on the chat thing here.
Okay.
Thank you.
I noticed that a number of people have been mentioning live streaming on Facebook, which is one of the easiest places where you can kind of get things started. We began our online presence there, but we had a lot of resistance for people who did not have Facebook, not wanting to have to use Facebook to follow the services. So in the end, what we decided to do was we stream to YouTube, but record the service as we're doing it and then upload it to Facebook later for those that want to follow it on Facebook. But I was surprised at how much resistance I got from people for wanting to stay away from Facebook because of its particular reputation and and kind of what's been going on with that company over the last number of years. So I found that when we switched to the YouTube method, we had pretty much universal support for that, and people if they had Facebook tended to know how to come over to YouTube, whereas the other way around didn't work out so well. So anyways, just one of the things we found with Facebook was kind of a bit of a resistance within the congregation to have to get Facebook to be able to follow the worship. So we made that adjustment, and I can't say that everybody's happy, because that just doesn't happen, but we have more happy people than we did when we were just doing it on Facebook, which I guess is a positive for sure.
And that was also our reason to go to YouTube as well, that a lot of people just didn't want to go on Facebook. So we're in both spots. Seems to have worked out.
Kalina, you mentioned with Facebook Live, it's a quick and easy startup, but there are glitches you've run into. Well, I haven't used it myself, so what kind of challenges does it?
The most recent one that I've been finding has been that almost everybody can hear, and then there will be 2 or 3 people who can't hear. Sometimes when you go, I was doing virtual announcements for my school for a while, and if you were to switch the camera, then it would change your color to be like an alien green. There's some really weird and particular glitches that once you know what they are and you know the workarounds, it's okay, but it does have some glitches and some peculiarities that can make it a bit of a challenge. Also, because it's live streaming, it depends highly on your bandwidth to send up your signal, and then it depends also on the people who are watching's bandwidth and their ability to download. So if you're wanting a more consistent service and an ability for people to be able to view it, then it's better to go with pre-recorded and uploaded. Just because Facebook itself and with the live streaming, it very much depends on your signal going up and people's signal coming down.
Okay.
I noticed Kalina was mentioning that they're starting to explore OBS a little bit, and we have really found that to be a tremendously helpful tool. It's free, which makes it particularly helpful and likable, because free is good always if you can get it. And one of the nice things about the OBS program is it allows you to use sources from a number of different places. So I can use audio sources, video sources, and include them in the final production along with live things. So what happens is AJ and I are the associate here. We do live worship, but into that we splice videos of people doing the readings and the prayers and leading music and doing other things that are taped at various times for the week and month, and then they are just simply loaded in as a frame within the live feed. So I'll just be talking like this, and I click a button and it'll shift over to the reader, and then click a button again, it shifts back to us on the live stream. So it allows us to include a fairly broad production that includes both taped things and videotape things and other items. So people record themselves on Zoom or on Skype and send me the video, and then I take that and I can upload it into the OBS platform to be part of the live feed later on in the week. So there is some really great stuff, and what I like about OBS is it was very, very easy to learn. It's user friendly, and I watched a how-to YouTube video on it, and with just watching that, I got the basics down, and I've added to that as we've gone along. But it's not a hard program to learn how to use to put that together. So you can do it all pre-recorded, or you can do a combination of recorded and live. Just depends on your circumstances and what you're able to do. But it is a really great platform for. It's a software encoder program, which takes analog and material, makes it digital so you can upload it if you're using different kinds of cameras and things. But it also is just an on computer program that allows you to splice together all sorts of different pieces from different places, which is what we like about it particularly. So Kalina, I really highly recommend that, because we've really come to like that program particularly well, and it doesn't cost you a cent.
Hi, Robin here from St James, Kentville. I just wanted to share some information about live streaming on Facebook. I'm the one that stands behind the screen. I use OBS as well, and I'm doing all the clicking to change the scenes and bring on the live video. But what I wanted to talk about was we've had zero trouble with streaming when we've been doing our Sunday services, because number one, so for guidance out there, we do a hardwired connection to the internet, which is recommended, and we are uploading at 10 to 15 megs. So I do the check, and my ping is around 20. So if you ever want to check your church's internet, we're downloading at 40 roughly, uploading around about 15 megabytes with a ping of 20, and we've had zero issues on the Sunday. But I agree there are issues if you're using your mobile phone or a low end internet connection. That will give issues. But for the statistics I just gave you, zero on the Sunday, zero problems.
And also, I think the minimum that they recommend for an upload speed for fairly smooth sailing is around 8. And you can go to something called Speed Test. Go on internet to Speed Test by Ookla, and you can check your speeds online, and you'll see kind of where you land, and that might help you. But the hardwire for sure into a modem makes a huge difference to the quality and sustainability of the feed. But 8 is generally considered to be about the lowest end certainly for live streaming, to be able to have the upload strength to carry the program. So, but you can check it with Speed Test by Ookla, and it's actually pretty good program to test your upload and download speeds.
Mike, just to say, in the rural setting, I'm upgrading next week, and I might get up to 5 megabits per second. Right now I'm sub 1, and we still don't have much of a problem with live streaming on Facebook. Uploading stuff to YouTube takes forever, but for live streaming, maybe it's the quality settings in your Facebook or whatever video you're using, but I haven't had an issue. And yeah, the internet in rural places, I just don't want to discourage anybody who doesn't have that kind of upload speed to throw that option away.
Yeah, I'm in Napanee, and I've got very slow speed. They can't increase me, so it's when I record my services with Michael, and then it takes me, I have to upload it overnight to YouTube because it just takes like 8 hours. It's crazy. Ian and Rob and Doug and Viren, I know you guys are doing Facebook Live, right? How have you found? Is it working? Does it do what you need it to do, or how is it for you guys?
We started off by using Facebook Live live streaming from Christchurch. We only have internet access at Christchurch Tamworth, not at St. Luke's Camden East. But we were live streaming from there. Our upload speed on the ping is only 0.5 megabits per second, which is lower than is recommended, but it worked. And we had no problems with the live stream. There was never a problem with that until after about a month, Facebook Live changed their algorithms. And it started getting error messages saying camera issue. So at first it wouldn't tell me what the camera issue was. So I had no idea what was the issue. After fishing around for several weeks and not being able to do any live streaming in the meantime, I discovered that they had changed the Facebook platform for security issues, and that Now, when it would try to interact with my camera, with my webcam, it was saving me from some sort of security problem, but it meant that I couldn't live stream. So they in the list of things they suggested, they said you might try uploading the Firefox browser and using it instead of your current browser. So I did that, and I finally got it to work. Well, we got back to live streaming, but now Facebook Live, just in the last 3 days, has decided that it still doesn't want to use my webcam, and it just gives me a black screen whenever I try to live stream. And now it's not even telling me camera issue. It just says it's just a black screen, and it's obviously not working. So now it's not even telling me why. It's just, and it's not giving me a camera issue. It's just not working. So we're back to sending up to video recording everything. In a way, I like video recording better because you can bring together the various elements of the service much more easily. So all the people in the congregation who have phones can record their scripture passage or whatever. Our organist can record her piano or organ at home, and that to me, and I can assemble it all using the video editor that was mentioned, that Russ Grant mentioned, and it makes for a pretty good basic package. But at times I have felt like, must I learn everything the hard way? Must I make every mistake that is possible to make before I finally get this right? And the answer I get back inside my head is yes. You will have to make every mistake that is possible to make. But it's been fun, and it's been good to do.
Rod and Doug, how about at Tyendinaga with your live streams, Facebook live streams? Have you found similar experiences, or how is it working for you?
We've actually, so we started live streaming on the first Sunday. We've done it every Sunday since. We've only had one Sunday where when there was a fairly serious glitch, and while the picture quality was good and the sound was good, I was completely horizontal for the duration of the service, and so a number of people just decided to stay in bed or to lay on the couch and watch church, which worked out quite fine for folks at home. One of the things that I've heard from folks is they really appreciate the sense of community that it still gives them when they know that at 9:30 on Sunday morning there's a group of us at the church, and they are wherever they are in their home or at their cottage at this point or wherever, and they're tuning in. There's just still a sense of togetherness, even though it's a different sense for us all. There's still a sense of it's Sunday morning and this is what I do on Sunday morning. And so I think that's one of the things that folks kind of appreciate with the Facebook Live stuff. There's also, I think, with the Facebook Live production, for us certainly, there's a sense that this is just real life. And real life has glitches, and real life has things that don't work out, and Sunday mornings have things that don't work out as well as we plan, as much as we pray. And so I think it gives folks a sense of, this is just kind of how we go about church and what we do on Sunday mornings. And so there's a sense that it is Sunday morning and it's together. We've had wonderful following. We have folks that are tuning in from around the world on a regular basis. And we have a number of folks in our community that are never in church when we gather together within our building, but they have been very, very faithful in being there every Sunday morning at 9:30 to be a part of the service. And so that's been wonderful. Absolutely. Kalina's our recorder and videographer, and she and Brian do the necessary things, and so technical questions, that's their area of expertise.
Just to reference something, and I had seen this, Ray had showed this to me when he gave me a little tour of the setup at Christchurch Cataraqui. He used this program called Wirecast, and I think that, Ray, would be similar to Michael's OBS, where it's like a software that you use to kind of broadcast out to a platform, and it takes your technology and turns it into, converts it to the software it needs to send out that video.
That's right. It that one's $600, so it does cost you some money to buy that. But what you can get from it, you can actually, throttle back the resolution that you want to push onto, and we put our platform on YouTube. We go live, and then it records for those who want to watch later. So, to the earlier point with we have Bell DSL, so everyone knows how fast that is. I've been able to throttle back the resolution to the point where we don't have any failures, and the picture looks not 1080p, but looks pretty good, What this software also does for you, it allows you to put multiple cameras out in the parish, which we do, and we also connect the audio to our soundboard that runs the organ, the microphones, etc. So it's a little bigger for maybe this conversation today, but it certainly has allowed us over, I think we're in year 10 now of using it, to bring in. We can bring in video from outside. We could have presenters come in from outside. I could put a website, onto one of the screens. So when we flip it over, we can do that. We can bring music in and pipe it back out. So it does have a lot of capabilities, and their most expensive version, which is when we're not buying, can do a lot more. So it's a great tool to use, but certainly if you're just starting, I worked with OBS a little bit, and I found it worked great. I had no problems with it. So it certainly, I would support OBS for the novice players, if you will.
Okay, that's
Mark.
great. Yeah.
Doug here.
Okay. Hey, Doug.
One of the things, and I'm not sure what some of the other platforms like YouTube, etc., and some of the people that are using, but one of the things that we find with Facebook, I have the opportunity to do a couple of Sunday services using Facebook and the live streaming, and one of the things I think we all miss is speaking to people after the service and getting feedback and all of that kind of thing. And one of the things that Facebook does is it allows the people that are viewing it to offer comments back. And so there is a real sense of connection that way. I'm not sure whether the other platforms have that or not, but I know that in listening to the services that Rod does on Sunday mornings, and even the couple that I did, going back into Facebook and looking at the comments, and you get a real sense that you're actually talking to the people, which is something that we all miss right now. And of course, Facebook provides that. I'm not sure whether the other platforms provide that or not.
Yeah, a couple of people.
We use a program called Zoom, and we have our coffee hour on Zoom at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. So people have an opportunity to watch the service on YouTube, which also does have comments available. You can make comments on a video. But then at 11 o'clock on Sunday, last Sunday, the first we tried it, we Zoomed and invited people to come in. We had 15 people that on exactly this kind of forum, where everybody got to talk about things that they usually talk about around the coffee hour after church. So those two things combined, both comments on the YouTube channel and doing a Zoom Facebook, a Zoom meeting afterwards seems to work quite well. Maybe Valerie might want to comment on that.
It did go well. The thing that we all have to pay attention to is just like when everybody gathers together, everybody, especially these days, wants to talk because we don't see each other very often. And so I think our first go around with that, there was a lot of chatter and a lot of over talk. But once you get kind of settled in and you get your hellos and everything else done, then it goes very smoothly.
Now, do you know that you can actually also break your large group, your large congregations out into smaller chat rooms? So you can break people into small groups as though they're sitting at a table. So that way you can also have, like, say 4 or 5 people in each room, and you can always set it to rotate people or to bring them back on a timer. And then that way people get to talk with different people and you're not working on talking over in a large group.
Right. I haven't tried that yet, but I know it exists.
And that's with Zoom?
Yeah. You can put
Zoom's kind of a nice little platform. It's got a few other features that that GoToMeeting doesn't have.
I know there are a number of parishes hosting sort of coffee hours after services through these online conference software. I sort of see those pop up on Facebook, or I just hear people talking about it. So it seems to be fairly common, which is great.
So we'll have to try the chat rooms.
We've been doing the Zoom coffee hour at Christchurch just as one big group, but I've been using the breakout groups for Bible study, and it works really well. So the whole group starts and I talk for a bit to give them a question and then break everybody automatically into small groups. It's frighteningly simple to do, actually, because I managed to figure it out.
Oh, that's good to know.
I wanted to go back to something that Rod said earlier, and I had my worship committee about a week and a half ago, and we do live worship. And 2 weeks ago, during my homily, my dog decided to take exception to the neighbor's dog, and began to bark and howl with rather. He's a big dog, so he makes a big sound. So anyway. I was thinking, he's been through every service so far and he hasn't made one single peep. And but it was interesting that I got more positive feedback about the dog barking than I did about my homily, and which may have to say something more about my preaching than my dog. But the interesting thing was that people said what they really like about it is because we were talking about trying to shine it up and make it a better production and all the rest. And the comment back from the worship team was that that's not what this is about, that people want real and genuine. And if it becomes too well produced, you kind of lose that sense of it's just us still, gathered together. It's in a different format, but on a Sunday morning, we'd laugh about something like that, or it just makes it human. And so they wanted to be careful that we didn't overthink it to the point where we lose kind of that who we are feel in the worship. So Rod, that was our experience as well. It's just we put out there who we are and what we're about, and that's what people love about it. And so we worry much less about the glitz and the production and more about just being genuine. And that's really what we all are about and what people want to see and be a part of. So I've learned how to let go a lot of the other technical stuff for the sake of just being who we are.
Yeah, Michael, we were talking yesterday about that and how the standard really for video you know, it's really over the years, it's really dropped in terms of what the expectations are around what your video would look like. You know, at one time it would have been completely a no-no to have anything that didn't look really professional. And I suspect that that changed once we all had smartphones in our pockets and we started videoing each other and posting stuff online, that the kind of bar came down across the board for what that was like. Whereas, you know, 20 years ago, it would have been laughed at for having sort of crappy, glitchy production, right? And one of the areas, though, you guys probably find is the one that doesn't drop as much is audio. You know, your audio quality, people can forgive crappy video, but it's harder to forgive crappy audio if you can't hear things correctly. So I know I've talked to a few folks where actually at my church here in Napanee, they were just running GoToMeeting software, I think off a laptop, but the audio was not good, and it seemed to be, and I think it was just the onboard mic on the laptop that was picking it up, but they were having problems with as soon as it was fine if one person was speaking, but then if you tried to add in a piano and music, suddenly it got all jumbled and muddy. I'm not a sound engineer, but it was probably something to do with that onboard mic that just couldn't handle all those inputs. I don't know. So that's another thing that you hear, you can have whole discussions about, is your audio. Ian's holding up a microphone there. I can't see what kind it is.
It's a Yeti. Yeti 10.
What's it called, Ian?
It's called a Yeti.
Yeti. Okay.
It's the preferred microphone of YouTubers.
Okay.
And
yeah.
The latest models, it was the first thing I bought because audio is so important. It is so crucial. You know,
yeah.
With us, I tried live streaming. People couldn't hear it. And you know, this is ridiculous. It's just people can't hear what you're saying. They're not going to tune in. Why would they? There's no point. So the audio has to be good. And this one is preferred by YouTubers. I think this costs $240 because it's, the thing that's good about it is, see these lights on it, so you can see, if it goes up into the yellow, that means it's loud enough. Now you can put this in front of your lay reader or anyone else who is using it, and they can tell immediately if they are loud enough. If the person is speaking and they don't know that they're not speaking loud enough, they won't correct what they're doing. But if they're getting immediate feedback from the microphone in terms of how loud they are, then they can adjust their voice accordingly. And that, I think, is really crucial. Also, it has very good gain in that, like, you can turn up the volume if it's otherwise too low. There's a lot of microphones have no option. It's like if you want it to get louder, you have to talk louder. Whereas this actually allows you to adjust the volume right on the microphone.
Yeah, audio really is everything. Mark mentions he uses a mic called Blue Snowball by the same maker.
Yeah.
By Yeti.
Well, this is way better than the Blue Snowball. I had one of those Blue Snowballs. I hate them. I hate them. It's like you have to hold it up really close, and if you don't get any sound.
Yeah, there's a lot of options out there on the market. When you start looking at gear and wanting to buy stuff, I mean, there's just a ton of stuff out there, so it can be hard to sort of decipher which one do I go with, you know. And I shop through, or I have shopped in the past through an outfit in the U.S. called B&H Photo, and I find that there's far more variety of gear you can get through the U.S. than is available here in Canada from some of the local stores, like Henry's. But the good thing is there's lots of blogs out there on the net where guys are summarizing, you know, their 10 best or their top this or their top that. So it helps you kind of filter down all of this information. Well, in speaking about here, maybe that makes an easy segue into just, we can touch on this grant program that the diocese is rolling out in terms of you want to upgrade your gear, get better gear to get money to do that. So I'm going to do my best to bring up this PowerPoint presentation that was blowing up on me earlier. So this is it all south. So let me just try and bring this up and run through it. And I don't think it's going to be in the right screen mode because I couldn't figure that one out earlier for some reason. Can everyone tell me if they can see that slide?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to get this into full screen mode earlier with GoToMeeting here, and I just can't get it to work right. So, but I can get it into this kind of edit mode here. So, so I got these charts. Alex, financial officer Alex Pearson, sent these charts over to me. Just a brief little description. I will have, there's a form that was sent to me today too, and I'm getting that posted online. I'll post it under our communication section on the website, and it's an application form. You reference it in a later slide here, application form to apply for a grant, matching grant in order to buy technology for doing this kind of thing. So I'll just move forward here and run through it. So the purpose, just get this little screen out of the way here. So the purpose of this grant is to assist and support churches in getting technology tools for their online worship, increasing their expertise, you know, tapping into a community of people here that can help out with these things. It's really designed, I think, to get to the money designed for parishes who are looking to either start up, get like an online technology program going, or enhance what they're doing now, whatever their existing thing is. So just what Ian references, if you need a better microphone, here's an opportunity to be able to get some funds in order to purchase that. So there are criteria for eligibility. So the eligible costs, so hardware material, whether that be cameras or some of the gear around switchers or encoders or audio. I don't see in that list tripods or cables, but I'm sure that that would be, I'm guessing that that would be applicable as well, just around hardware materials that you need to get up and running or improve what you're doing right now. Other eligible items, of course, are software, whether that be something like what Ray was referencing with a Wirecast or any software you can use to be streaming online, or software for editing video, pre-recorded video. Or if you're looking to upgrade or get subscriptions to services, whether that be hosting or some sort of video conferencing. I take it then, you know, if you're having to buy a subscription to GoToMeeting or something that isn't free, you know, or if there's some kind of need for that. So those fall into what are considered the eligible costs for this grant. Some things are not eligible. Let's go to the next slide here. So existing equipment, I take that to, as I say, I'm not the financial office, so I'm just sort of interpreting what I'm seeing on the slide here. If you have existing equipment that you've purchased, I take it that you can't sort of back or, you know, grandfather that cost in by applying for a grant for something you've already got. It doesn't seem to cover internet access or items related to in-house broadcasts. So folks who would do in-house presentation through a projector and screen monitors and speakers and such. If that's something that's already going on in-house, then the grant does not cover that. The last item on that is building modifications. I don't know what might fall into that category, but I suppose there's things that could come up that need to be done. our next slide here. So the idea around the grant is that it's a match grant, so dollar for dollar. So the parish would kick in money towards the purchase, and then the diocese would put in money to match that. It's a maximum of $500, and it's available to each church regardless of being part of a parish or region. So I take that to mean if you're in a 4-point parish and it's just one physical church out of that group that can apply for the grant. Preference is given to churches seeking to reach online beyond the current membership. As we mentioned, going forward, once we are back in our parishes, many folks have expressed the interest or reality that they will continue to live stream even once we are back physically in our churches. Church is committed to continuing online worship after the return, and anybody wants to improve, it says include the quality, but I think that maybe meant improve the quality of their online worship. Just want to do it better, have a better production. And preferences will go to churches with a lower annual income. So I will be posting I'm jumping ahead here. Advice and consulting. So I will be a source available to folks. I don't know everything, of course, but now we're building, through a meeting like this, we're building a community of people who know various things about ways to do this and how they can improve, and which is great because it also lets me know who's out there doing what, and folks I can reach out to for advice or help if it's something that I don't know the answer to. Like it's in the third box down, network to community of the churches and the diocese and their experience. So we're kind of building a little community group here to share experiences and knowledge. So as I mentioned, I am posting this grant application form online. I'm just trying to get that up online today. It'll be on the under the communications section on the website, which is under the resources section. We'll also add it in, a little blurb about it into the e-news and run that for a few weeks and have it available there. So you would fill out this form or complete this, send it back to, return it to this email, pandemic@ontario.ca. And the program is available till the funding is used up. I don't know how much is available or what that bucket, how big that bucket is, or how much can be pulled out of it, but finance folks would be better positioned to answer that question. So that's that. As I say, for any further questions around that, the finance department would be better suited to field any specific details around it. But that is good. There is a bucket of funds that you can go to if you want to spend $200 on a microphone or buy a better camera or gear like that to be able to help afford that. You just have to kick in through yourself. So hopefully that's a help to people. It will be a help to people. I just see a note here from James. Would a better laptop be covered in eligible costs? I think that'd be a question for the finance for Alex, just to really clarify what is covered under hardware and what is not considered. I don't know the answer.
On that question, I read that if you want to do live streaming, your computer should be a quad-core processor. Mine has only 2 cores. It works, but it's just at the edge of what's acceptable. So sometimes I find it skips, or the feed is a bit choppy. And I'm wondering, I don't know for certain whether that's because computer's processor is not able to handle that much instant processing or not. I have no idea. It might be that my hard drive is too full to be able to work as fast as it needs to. But I am looking into a quad-core processor for a new computer.
Okay, Rob, you're asking about license fees for music, and I don't want to speak to that just because I don't know the answer to that. As in, Alex is better suited to answer some of those questions around the details around this fund.
Mark, that's been discussed at the wardens and treasurers Friday meeting. My understanding is that we should have a CCLI, and with it there's a codicil or an add-on to cover broadcasts. And that's whether it's just broadcasting within your church, or when you start broadcasting out on YouTube or Facebook, just to make sure that you're covered off for copyright issues.
That's right. I remember looking up something about that, Bill, because I don't know a lot about this, but I guess your standard license doesn't cover online streaming. Is that right?
I think probably when most of us got the CCLI license, it was well before most of us were live streaming, and we never thought to add it. So we should, if you've got it, check it over, make sure that it's there, and if it's not, you should probably have it. Just to be covered. It was interesting. The first time I posted one of our services to YouTube, I don't know how they did it, but very quickly I had a message. We identified copyrighted material. You may not monetize this particular broadcast. And the only thing we had was hymns from the Book of Common Praise.
We had that exact same thing happen when we tried to post one, but most weeks it was not a problem. We've been doing it for, I guess, about six, 7 weeks. And it was only one particular performance that the message came up that there's copyrighted material and it can't be monetized.
I suspect you've been told once, that's all we need to tell you. We are God, we are YouTube.
Yeah, I saw that same thing when I put together the Easter service for the diocese. When I uploaded it, I saw that message about copyright, and I thought, uh-oh, is this thing gonna let me even put it online? Or is that it? But it let me, yeah, it just said the monetize thing, and it let me carry on. I was worried it was gonna like end it right.
Mark, if I may, friends, the new technology fund, the needs may vary from place to place. So my suggestion for now is any particular requests, considerations, send it to the pandemic email address, and then they will be forwarded on and sorted in the coming days and weeks.
Thanks, Wayne. All right, that's good. That's good. Are there any other things people wanted to raise, questions, or, I mean, you know, you could kind of talk for hours about this stuff. If there's anything else folks wanted to kind of get an answer to or talk about?
Mark, I wonder if you could circulate a list of participants and email addresses so that if we wanted to connect with somebody who said something that you wanted to explore more would benefit from.
Okay, yeah. Just a question, yeah, I wonder, once we close the meeting, does it tell me who was actually on it?
Yeah, you can go back, Mark, you can go back and look under the history and it'll actually tell you the people that were online for the meeting. So it'll give you a list of those names.
Either that or I'd have to take a picture of everybody right now and just get the little squares later on. I often turn to low-tech ways to these problems.
I appreciate your having the meeting and just meeting everybody that's doing various things in their parishes. And I think it's great that we can touch base with each other as well, compare notes, share experiences. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're right. A lot of ways to do it, and a lot of different things that people are doing. So it's a lot of things to figure out, as Ian mentioned, with when you get into some problems, and everyone has kind of different expertise in their area of how they're handling this. So it is nice to hear what folks are saying and hear how people are sort of managing this and moving forward.
Mark, and
2 months from now, everyone will know even more than they do now.
Mark, could I make a request for the COVID hub? You have a list of all the churches and parishes that are doing live stream or recorded worship, but without sort of the dates and times where people normally, like, you know, live stream Sunday at 9 or Tuesday at 7, or loaded on YouTube by 11 o'clock every Sunday morning. I think it would be helpful to have that sort of information available, especially as clergy start going on holidays and people might be looking for another source, another place to go get worship. It would just give us that more transparent information.
Okay, good point. Thanks, Trish.
Oh, and one other thing is, if you have resources for kids, and just to sort of nail some of that down, especially as we get to VBS time. I know some people will be doing virtual vacation Bible schools. It's just nice to have things for kids available as well and identified as such.
Okay. Wayne, I was mentioning something about that the other day, weren't you? Around VBS?
Given the time of year, there have been some questions raised about VBS, and the advice is that because their buildings are closed, and we know they will continue to be till the end of August, that VBS be done online and virtually, and/or resources provided for people to use in their homes as families.
I was wondering if we could have recommendations on a variety of video cameras versus DSLR cameras. I use a DSLR camera for recording purposes because it's got a bigger lens. But there are some problems with it in that you can't record longer than 19 minutes and 59 seconds. That's by law. They're designed so that they shut down after that. So using them for live streaming is impossible, but you do get a better quality picture. I've been looking at various video cameras, and the variety is bewildering. So Mark, I was wondering if you have any recommendations. I've been looking at the cameras that you use to record the bishop's sessions. And I noticed those are both DSLR cameras, I think, are they?
Yeah, Ian, I'm using a 5D and a Canon 7D DSLR. There is a website I have visited, haven't had the time to spend on it like I would want to, but it's called prochurchtools.com. I think that's the name. And that the whole site is all about online church. It's with a guy named Brady Shearer. I think he's out of the U.S. Anyway, and so they will often, there's videos and resources on there, you know, and just that kind of thing, you know, best cameras to use, best budget cameras to use. Oftentimes with the bloggers, they'll talk about, you know, sort of high-end stuff, and then they'll talk about your budget options around things. So his site is all about doing church online. I think it's really tied into some of these big churches in the U.S. who are doing a lot of online stuff. So it's a good resource site, maybe to check out.
I think I've seen that one. And there's another one called Ballast Media, who has done a lot of church live streaming. But I found his stuff is a little bit outdated now, I think. Brady Shearer's stuff seems a little bit more up to date, and they make recommendations that are precisely counter each other. So
right.
You go to one site and you hear that the Canon Vixia is the way to go for a camcorder because they're so cheap, and you can buy 6 of them for the price that you would buy one of the more expensive 4K cameras. But then the other guy says, no, but the picture quality is really poor with the Canon Vixia R800. So why would you want to do that? Okay.
Yeah, that's the challenge, right? There's so much technology out there, and trying to decipher what is going to work for your needs and how you find it, which one it is.
And I'd just like to mention too, Ian, I use a DSLR camera and it doesn't shut off. So I don't know the challenge of that, because I have certainly photographed services that are 30, 40 minutes long and not had any problems with the camera shutting off. So I'm not sure whether that's a settings issue that you can change on your particular camera. It was on mine. The one that I used would shut down after 15 minutes, and I could go in and turn off that in the settings. It was kind of a battery saving option that you can eliminate.
There is, for some DSLR cameras, there is a workaround, but for others, there is no workaround available. I saw the workaround for some very, very complicated 12-step process that you have to go deep into the deep settings on the menus and remember what all those menu settings are, and press 2 or 3 buttons using 3 fingers at the same time, and then go further down. It's very, very complicated.
Yeah, mine does it. Ian and Michael, same issue on my Canon. Sorry, could just mute for a second. There's a lot of background noise. So yeah, my Canons will shut off after like max 20 minutes. And what my understanding and what happens, you can feel it, is that the processor overheats when it's trying to run video, and it shuts down to protect the processor because it gets so hot. You can actually feel the thing hot, heating up. So it just can't handle that for a long time, you know. And I get it. It's a film. It's a, you know, picture camera first, a video camera second. So the technology is not there to sort of design it as I turn on video and run it for an hour straight or something. You just can't do it.
Yeah, I don't use mine as a video camera. I use mine, it just is a direct feed into the computer, the same as it would be if it was a webcam. And so it doesn't use the video component on the camera. And I have a program on the computer to change the from analog to digital, but I never have any issues with overheating or anything like that, because I just use it straight as a webcam, not as and I don't use the video part of that program. It's just set to an open.
Yeah, I think, Michael, in my case, I'm recording to a card. I'm recording to a CF card. So that's why it's overheating, because it's trying to load this thing, as opposed to just being a throughput through to a laptop or something. I'm trying to record this all onto a card, and that's when I run into these overheating problems. That must be it. Okay, all right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in today. Really appreciate that. Didn't know, you know, who we were going to get or how many folks would show up, but it was very encouraging to have this discussion and have everybody tune in. So we'll keep in touch and keep your questions coming, and we'll hopefully do this again at some point.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark.